Oh, well, thank you. Woo.
You're such a gentleman.
Thank you, Sharr.
Yeah, that was.
Did I say enough?
Wow.
Should I have said? I probably should have said more, right?
You said too much.
I mean, I was gonna go down the whole list of things, but we'd be here all night. So I was gonna lead with, so this is my big question. This is like etiquette when we're rehearsing is, do I say Nick and Megan or do I say Megan and Nick?
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
In our house.
Yeah, right. Okay, good.
If you just say Megan, I'll also pay attention.
You'll say what? Yours, you sort of prick up a little bit. So there was this Great Times profile of you guys. I thought the most interesting thing was that there was this real career symmetry, that you both hit these lauded roles when you were 39 years old. I guess my question is, how did you greet being faced with roles like Karen Ron? Did it feel like a natural transition in your careers? Or did it feel like you'd caught some sort of Hail Mary pass? Like, what was it like for you?
Well, I mean, I think Nick and I were both about 39 when we each got our respective, big breaks on television. And I'd been acting professionally since I was 20 and just kind of kicking around. And I'd been out in Los Angeles since 1985. And originally was going to come to New York and audition for Broadway musicals because I started out as a dancer, but I had some boyfriend that suggested we go to Los Angeles, so of course I did. And we only kissed.
All right.
No tongues. And so I had done many pilots that never went anywhere, and or maybe lasted for 13 episodes or 7 episodes. So
that's still significant. I mean, 13 episodes,
sure.
Not like a sneeze, and
it's great. But I mean, I just kind of had gotten to the point where I thought, I've really run the gamut of this like multicam sitcom thing. It's just obviously not in the cards for me, and I'd kind of just, mentally thrown in the towel. And I actually told my agent from the payphone in the parking lot of a Bed Bath & Beyond that I would no longer audition for sitcoms, and he just kind of laughed in my ear. And then I got really broke, and I was like, okay, well, it's back on, pilot season. So I got the Will and Grace pilot, and I thought, well, here we go again. And then on the first... we hadn't even shot the pilot yet, and this real big wig from NBC was, the whole, all 4 of us, me and Deborah and Eric and Sean, were sitting outside on the lot at the little commissary, and Deborah and Eric were smoking cigarettes, and Deborah wanted to smoke, but everybody had run out of fire. So this real big muckety-muck guy was strolling across the lot from NBC, and he comes over to talk to us, and just that alone was like, what? And Deborah, he said, oh, do you need a light? And she said, oh, yeah. And so he handed her his gold Cartier lighter, and she lit her cigarette. She said, thank you. And he said, keep it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm buying a Range Rover.
But was that your first sense that you thought that this was going to go somewhere? It was from an executive reaction, but not from...
No, I thought the pilot was okay.
And did you have the same feeling, Nick, for Parks and Recreation, or?
Not necessarily. I lived through the last 6 of the 8 seasons of Will and Grace with Megan, and had the very blessed position of being her spouse. So unlike anyone else, I was allowed anywhere on the set. I'd go stand next to the director and watch the proceedings, and it was an incredible education. It was like my own personal Disneyland, and so I had a very strong sense of what a winning lottery ticket landing on a show that's made with love, that's well written, where you get to be really creative and hilarious. How the odds were so incredibly stacked against that. And Megan's always been very supportive of me, and we had an ongoing conversation of, well, maybe someday you'll get a good part. if you just get the right sort of weird
The right
niche.
thing, yeah.
And we love The Office, the American Office, as well as the British, but watching the American Office, we would often say, it's going to be a show like this, and it's going to be a part like Dwight Schrute. Like, it's going to be the weirdo on a show like this. And then those people made my show, and they needed a weird guy.
Right.
And they wrote the part for Nick.
But so that's
Created that role.
but here's my question. So like you're going into an audition for this show. Do you carry the character of Ron? Like how do you get cast as Ron Swanson if they're still
Well, he had auditioned for The Office a few times, and they loved him, but it never quite worked out. And so, the creator of Parks, Mike Sharr, had held Nick's image in his brain for these many. And when he had his very own show, he wrote part for Nick.
And so, lucky enough, talented enough to be somebody that a producer would hold you in their brain for you.
Yeah, my cheese had just the right funk.
And it still does.
And it still does. Yeah, it's beautiful.
But I mean, really, honestly, what are the chances that the only two human beings in one household would both land roles on half-hour television comedies that would?
No, but it's extraordinary. So then I had all sorts of questions about like, well, was it suddenly like, was there this point where you're like, look, Megan, I am not your personal servant anymore? Like, was there like a?
I'm looking.
But I mean, was there like a paradigm shift because Will and Grace had been over for several years, and I mean, it's this.
No, I think it was just a natural, that was one of the happiest days of my life, the day that he officially got cast on Parks and Rec. I mean, I cried. I mean, it was just, it's just been, he was working as an actor, relatively consistently that whole time, but, we knew that this was different. And it was just such, great, great people involved with this show, Parks and Rec. And, no, I mean, there's never been a,
I've always been. I wasn't on Parks and Rec. I wasn't on a full-time series, but I was always working as an actor. And if I wasn't, I was working at my shop.
Right.
So I've always been very busy.
Right.
So
right.
Our roles kind of have remained.
What we basically said was like, I took the first 10 years. You get the next 10, and then I'll spot you, spell you. Yeah.
So, I mean, do you have, so there's this, I mean, there's a funny thing, I think a lot of people automatically assume that you are Ron Swanson and you are Karen, and there's this, I mean, but they're very technically created roles,
Yeah, I couldn't be, I mean, I'm nothing, I'm the same human body, but I'm nothing like Karen.
Yeah.
And people are bitterly disappointed about that. It's really kind of ruined my career, basically. Yeah.
So what's your process what was your process for
Well, if you watch, because I used to go into auditions, we were talking about this recently, I used to go into auditions with really big, real characters, like big character, like fully formed with a different voice and different body language, and you go in with these big characters, and then, sometimes I would get the part, but sometimes people would be like, call security. So for Karen, I did definitely put a different spin on it. I went in with some jazz, but I didn't go the full tilt. And so over the course of the first 10 episodes of that show, you really see me sneaking in, my voice just gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And some of it was not, I'm not really, I'm more of an instinctive actress. And so I can't say I had this secret plan all along. It was just that Will and Grace was farce, and I just felt like my regular speaking voice was too laconic to carry that kind of energy. So, I think instinctively I just kept like jacking it up. It's kind of like musical comedy without the music. Will and Grace was, and so some
And
of
so
it
you,
was
like, you would jack it up, and the writers would respond.
yeah, and I would do something. I would come in like the honeys and all that were mine, and certain little catchphrases, and of course all of my body language. And I would come in, and then they would love a certain thing, and then they would write to that, and then they would write something that I would never have thought of, and then I would play to that, and it just kept building and building. We just kept topping each other, and so it was a great process of just seamless, interaction with the actors and the writers.
And I mean, and even before you went in for that, I mean, you had done so much work in Los Angeles. I mean, is it really sort of a matter of paying your dues, of having enough people trusting you, or knowing that you can come through on your work, or?
No, I still, I think the biggest thing I had done was How to Succeed in Business revival here on Broadway with Matthew Broderick. I think that was like my biggest break before Will and Grace. And I still, in Los Angeles, I had a good reputation with casting directors and producers, but nobody was like, oh God, we've got to get Megan Mullally. I mean, nobody knew who I was at all. And I was still like the low man on the totem pole. So even for the whole first season or couple seasons of Will and Grace, I was only in like a couple of scenes per show. And there was just one episode where like I came in for my first entrance in like the C scene or whatever, the B scene, into the Will and Grace living room, and I opened the door, and the audience just started screaming and like stomping their feet on the floor, and I was like, what the fuck, is there an earth? I didn't know what's going on. And one of the creators of the show came running over, and he's like, it's you, they love you. And I was like, they really? I have like 2 lines. So it was once the show had just started airing, I think. But I really didn't have very much to do.
Right.
And so the character kind of built.
And how was that? I mean, was there a similar moment with Ron Swanson? Was there like a...
No, we don't have an audience, so nobody stomped their feet. But yeah, I mean, once we did like a 6-show pilot in the spring of 08 or 09, and the word on the street was that was it. They were like, I think that's it. And then fortunately they brought us back in the fall, and the show started catching on really the same way The Office did, because even when The American Office started, all of us comedy fans were like, don't fuck with The Office.
Yeah.
It's Ricky Gervais's office, you can't. And Greg Daniels took that, and immediately he and Steve Carell took a very hard left and found their own voice, and very quickly we all said, oh, this is new and great. Sign me up. And our show was able to sort of have a similar beginning where people were like, it's not The Office. And we were like, no, it's not, check this out.
I think your character made a bigger impression right from the switch, though.
Perhaps. I mean, I was very gratified and kind of freaked out when it started catching on. One difference between our career moments is that mine had the internet.
Right.
If the internet had been around when Will and Grace started,
In my house, we call it the interwebs.
the interwebs, there would be, you'd be able to buy like Karen Walker
Right.
statues and like a Karen Walker Fiat.
Was there? I'd like to. Yeah, it's probably fast and snappy.
It is, with a martini holder.
So I mean, was there particular advice that, like, how did that operate for you two as a couple? I mean, was there good advice that you took?
Well,
from...
we worked on your audition. Remember, in our kitchen.
Yeah, Megan's helped me with a lot of
Well,
auditions and acting advice.
Like basics.
I don't remember doing that. I mean, I remember that in particular, though, because I said, don't move your arms.
See, that's why we're here.
Here we are.
That's
I
why
said,
we
don't
want-
wave your hands around. He doesn't expend any extra.
So I mean, was it? But
Neither does he, by the way.
But now you both had your beginnings in Chicago theater.
Yeah.
You
That's
didn't know each other in Chicago.
No, Nick is 11 and a half years younger, or as Oprah said, 12. She gave me a lot of shit about that when I was on that show, and I was like, yeah, he's 11 and a half. She's like, 11 and a half. Like, yeah, 11 and a half, bitch. Yeah, so no, we have all these weird parallels, but they are, that many years apart. So I went to Northwestern for a couple of years, and then I did a lot of theater in Chicago for 6 years, and Nick went to Champaign-Urbana, and he did a lot of theater for several years.
And you told me this story about being in school and being cast, and you're somebody at school saying, just go, just drop out.
Oh yeah. When I was at Northwestern, I had this is actually crazy. I had been doing some musicals on the Northwestern campus as I was a student. I wasn't a theater major, but I was in that world kind of, and so I was in the one record store in Evanston, Illinois, the college town, and I was crouching down like in the stacks, and there was one guy working there, and somebody else comes in, and I hear this conversation between these two men. This guy's like, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, good. I'm musical directing this, new musical that's going to happen, in Chicago, and it's going great, but we can't cast this role of this 16-year-old runaway." And I heard that there was this girl at Northwestern who was so great who played. This is not the funny part, but it is funny. Played Anita in West Side Story. Perfect for me. And he's like, "But I can't figure out who it is." And I literally was like, I came up from, this is so weird, and that's how he got the part. And then the show was a huge hit, and I got my equity card, and and it started my career. And so then I tried to go back for my junior year in college, and I made it like 2 weeks, and I was driving down into Chicago every night and doing 8 shows a week, and it was kind of hard. I was just trying to do it all. And so I went in to talk to the dean of my department. She was like, "Drop out. You're doing what you came here to do. Just get out." So I
and that's what you did.
So I did.
Now, and then Nick, you started your own theater company.
I have a degree.
Oh, sorry. You're the only one here.
I have a BFA, which
You don't have one?
I don't have one. Yeah.
it's come in quite handy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you couldn't be hired in the corporate world without it.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Yeah. Yeah. But you started a theater company right out of college.
Yeah, a group of us started this company actually in college in Champaign, and we all moved to Chicago together. And it was very fortunate for me because they were smarter and much farther along in their development. I was sincerely bad at acting at the time. I came from a very small town, and I was really ignorant. And I just had the misconception that, my most valuable tool, myself, my unique self, was this corn-pone like hick who would be interested in seeing this guy. And so I was trying way too hard to act cool. And it took me some years to learn that I was not cool. But I could build the sets, and I was good at stage combat and other things. So they would give me small parts, and we started this company called.
There are home movies that Nick's family have from when he was a kid. Like 13, 14 years old, maybe.
10.
10.
I was a child.
Older.
Did he have the beard?
He was like a teenager. And, they'll be panning. It'll just be like a Christmas thing, and they'll just be panning across the whole family. And people are like, waving and like, like what small town, and they get to Nick. They're just panning across just randomly, and they get to Nick, and he's just standing there going like this. He because like he knew somehow that he needed to like express something, but he didn't know really what it was. Like he didn't really know that he could be an actor or a performer.
Get a load of this.
He's just like, he's literally just going like this. It was so funny.
So, but then, I mean, your work in this theater company and in college, you learned carpentry. This is how you supported yourself off and on. Is that correct?
I did, yeah. I made a lot of my living in Chicago, building scenery professionally, and as a fight choreographer, I ended up doing a few shows for Steppenwolf as a choreographer. And that allowed me to pay my rent while I learned to become less shitty at acting.
So then the decision to move to, Los Angeles, I mean, obviously it's because there's film work and television work, but what was it like for you, for both of you?
Well, you know, I had that boyfriend that we just
Come on.
kissed. And he said, well, let's go to Los Angeles for a month, and then we'll go to New York for a month. Well, then he kind of bailed out of everything because he couldn't leave his mother and father behind in Chicago. So anyway, I ended up staying out there. I always had very good luck. I mean, I must say I've had very, very good luck. I had good luck in high school, I had good luck in college, and I had good luck getting started in a professional career. And then when I was living in Chicago, I was flown out to Los Angeles for some screen tests for some big movies. And so people in LA kind of already, some casting directors and a few agents and people knew who I was. So I got signed at, big agency within 2 weeks, and I just, I don't have a real
So you were really
sad
able to
story.
hit the ground running?
Kind of. I mean, I still went through a period where I didn't work at all for 2 years, and I was selling beaded necklaces and stuff. But I mean, that was my.
I mean, who wasn't?
Well, yeah. I mean, anal beads.
I didn't know those were necklaces, but.
No, nobody did. That was the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and so Nick, how did you decide? What brought you out to LA? Besides the beaded necklaces.
Yeah, I had heard of this rectal jewelry maker.
You got one in now, don't you, dear?
Now what's he gonna do? How's he gonna get out?
I also was very lucky. I got a couple film jobs in Chicago, got my SAG card, and I did this Sundance movie with a young Ben Affleck and Rachel Weisz and these hot shots. The movie didn't do a lot. It was called Going All the Way, but I was kind of a bad guy in the movie, and the filmmakers were very generous and encouraging and said, you have a great mug. You should come to LA. People will pay you to make those funny faces that you make. And I had also just felt like, I don't know, some sort of strange plateau in Chicago where I was there, for 3 or 4 years, and I felt like I had had an incredibly rich time, but I felt like it would now become kind of reiterative if I stayed. And also, the guys that I kind of looked up to were all drunks and sad. And I was like, man, I'm so close to just becoming you. And it's really tempting. There's a lot to be said for it. And so I went to LA. I had some little job on like a Nickelodeon show. And it was a very strange and bizarre set of coincidences that made LA attractive to me. I also I was a theater guy from soup to nuts, and I moved to a town that doesn't have a lot of theater.
Yeah.
Certainly you can't make a living the way you can in Chicago. And so I got involved, I had a low-end agent and started getting auditions, but I was pretty sad and broke and depressed and drank a lot of bourbon.
It's good.
Yeah. Frankly, until what brought me out of it was doing a play, meeting Megan and doing a play and falling in love and saving my life.
they're soft up here on the east side.
Yeah. Jeez.
So was carpentry was something to do? Carpentry was a business? Carpentry was...
I always loved working with tools. I grew up in a farm family. I built things my whole life, which was great because while I was waiting to become an actor, I was able to build scenery.
And your dad is a carpenter too.
Yeah, and he was always an amateur furniture builder, and so it was a great way to make a nice living as a laborer while like waiting for my dream to come true or trying to make that happen. And then in Los Angeles, because it doesn't have the theater community that Chicago does, I had to use my tools in some other way to make money. So I started making furniture and building like cabins and decks in people's yards. And at some point in there, a shift happened where I got obsessed with heirloom furniture and became a woodworker all of a sudden.
That was my question about Nick Offerman. Woodshop is it looks like from all the pictures I've seen, it sort of looks like the fantasy woodshop. I mean, were you building that all along? Was that a part of, I guess the instinct to say, well, it's something that came out of, you're successful enough to, have this fabulous hobby on the side and all of that, or it was in the works the whole time? Well,
it evolved organically, and I was very spoiled. Partially I was a kept man. My wife was making a lot of bread, which allowed me to be able to, like, if I had a nice little movie job, I could buy a table saw. My shop was able to become sort of my dream shop more through my work as an actor than through my income as a woodworker. But then I became better and started selling my pieces for really nice prices, and then I took on employees, and now we have this nice little co-op, and it's become this great little operation.
Do you spend time there anymore, or do you go there when you have a fight, or like what? Because I go out, I chop wood when we have a fight. But I don't have like a planer.
An axe is much better for getting out frustrations.
Right, on the wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go. Parks and Rec is actually a great schedule for the shop because it shoots like a film. So I usually have 1 or 2 days off a week, so I can go in, and I do a lot of administrating right now because I don't have time to be. I design pieces, and then my elves make them happen.
And Megan, you have this whole side career in music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did that start for you? Were you always a musician? Were you?
Yeah, I was talking to Rob Fisher about it, who conducted Guys and Dolls, because he was asking me some questions, and ever since I was about 3, I've just been singing and so consumed by music, and most people don't even know that I sing at all, which is interesting because they just know me from Will and Grace. But it's been sort of the driving force for me. And so because I have, I made my home in Los Angeles, and I didn't come here and audition to be in the chorus of Broadway musicals, I had to, exercise my creativity in some way. So I've had these bands, and I did Supreme Music Program. We haven't actually played together for a while, but I have this new band, Nancy and Beth, and it's just a great outlet. It's just a really pure, we've been actually doing quite well and getting a lot of bookings and touring, and just made a record and things like that. But it's not really about that. It's more just about being able to do it and being able to, it's me and this young actress and musician named Stephanie Hunt, and we sing in harmony and we do choreography, and it's very celebratory and fun, and we just do all kinds of music from different genres and different eras. And
it's a crazy gas. And if you take anything away from tonight, check out Nancy and Beth. They're like the Andrews sisters on peyote.
I like the
it's really fun, yeah.
My favorite.
There's a lot of comedy in it.
My favorite quote from Supreme Music Program is that you're listed as playing vocals, cardboard box, chains in a bowl, plastic egg,
Yes.
and moral high ground.
Right. Right.
Anything else, or is that?
That was, I have since started playing the ukulele, if that counts. But yeah, no, Nancy and Beth is really fun. And I don't know, music's always been very important to me, but I have found myself going down a lot of other paths. So, you know, I just work it in there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when it comes to theater, I mean, you guys are, so here's we get back to the big question is, why the would you do? Why would you do it? This little, I mean, this was, you know, to do and to have you guys work in this 99-seat black box in Los Angeles and then here.
Well, you know, we met doing a 99-seat equity waiver play in 2000 in Los Angeles, and this play called The Berlin Circle, which is a Chuck Me deconstruction of the Mother Courage via the Caucasian chalk circle kind of thing. And Nick and I were both in it, and we were the two sort of outsiders. We weren't members of this theater company, and he came up to me on the first day and introduced himself, and he was the only one who really talked to me. And we were just working together. We were just kind of buddies, and one day I was like, is he sexy? What's happening? So
What's going on?
what's going on? I thought he was just my pal.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, and he, you know, he was kind of flirting with me, and I was kind of, anyway, now we're married and everything.
But
I
there's
ended
this,
up,
That son of a bitch she went to L.A. with is still living with his mother. And
he doesn't kiss her with his tongue either, so,
no,
yeah.
no. But, you know, so we met under these exact circumstances, and so I think that, you know, because we met working together as actors, that we just always want to work together, and there's no like shyness or there's no questions. I think it's just a real ease about it, and we just enjoy it.
and it's where we come from. Like, the dream always as a theater actor is, well, it'd be really nice to get some film and TV work that's good, that's fun, but one of the best things about it is it pays well, and then you can afford to do plays that don't pay well, but are much more delicious material. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's how I became a man, was doing plays at broke-ass little theaters.
Yeah.
And so that's always, to us, I think, the most valuable work is intense, dramatic work with an audience.
So the way that this came about was I had done in, gosh, I guess it was like fall of 2009 into the beginning of 2010, I had done this play called The Receptionist at the Odyssey Theater in Los Angeles by Adam Bach. And I just was obsessed with the play and the role and the whole deal. And we always work with this director, Bart DiLorenzo. He, you know, was involved in the play where we met, and then we've worked with him many times since. So he directed The Receptionist. Nick was doing Parks and Rec. And I had such a great experience doing it. And then we love the Odyssey, we love the theater, and then Nick said, well, gosh, I haven't done a play in a few years, I'd love to do something, and so we said, well, maybe we can find something to do together. So one of the women who runs the Odyssey happened to know about Annapurna, and she brought it to Nick and I. They sent it to us, and we read it, and we thought, oh.
Hence my late night laugh with my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, and it was all real. Yeah, it was all true.
Yeah.
And we read it and we thought, well, gosh, this is kind of crazy because it was two-person play, an estranged husband and wife haven't seen each other for 20 years, and there's been a lot of water under the bridge. And so we thought, well, gosh, this seems like a real possibility, but we need to read it out loud. So we were both very busy all the time somehow, and it took us quite a while to get a reading organized. We finally got Bart and Beth Hogan from the Odyssey Theater over to our house, and we sat around the breakfast room table and we read the play, and we were like, oh. Because when you read it on the page, it's one thing, and I don't know if you're even aware of this, but when you read it on the page, it's one thing. When you read it out loud, you know, the way that you modulated the play, it really, you know, it becomes apparent. And we just said, oh, okay, well, we have to do this. And that's how that happened. So we did it last spring, at the Odyssey in Los Angeles, and I would say it was well received.
It was well received. That every night they let us finish the entire piece.
Yeah, that says a lot.
Yeah, it was great.
And then, so what's it like for you to do it again, to do something again? Is it?
It's delicious. I've done this once before, I think, in my life, where in the first production, you answer all these questions and you have enough time. If it's a term paper, you have enough time to answer all the necessary questions and get your paper turned in. Well, then if they say, all right, now write it again. Well, you've already answered all these foundational questions, and so starting from the finish, we got to say, oh, okay.
Are you doing this because you graduated? Are you still trying to lord that over us?
I pretended that I graduated for years.
I apologize. I should make a plainer analogy. It's like if you're tasked with creating a sandwich.
Fine. Good. I got that. Microwave some cocoa, maybe.
I'm lost.
Yeah.
But so in this second go-round, we've found complexities and answered all these new layers where we said, now things are so much clearer what's going on here and here.
Yeah, I kind of attacked them yesterday after, well, not really. I mean, I did. I can't, like, after this, the first time on stage, on this stage, on this set, which is larger and more complex, not more complex, it's just large, 6 feet wider. It's different.
Yeah,
like, everything's different.
different.
And I just, I like to try to be as removed as I can when I'm watching things so I can figure out what it needs, objectively. And I just killed me. I just had this moment. I came home, I told my wife, I told you, I was like sitting there, and I was sitting there, and sitting there. And it went like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good play.
I wasn't fishing for that. Was I fishing for that?
It's
No,
good,
not
good
at all.
writing is what will do that to your eyes.
Well, but it has been really interesting remounting this play, though, because, what Nick said, we did it and it was well received, and people did have a similar reaction in Los Angeles when they saw it. But I don't know, when you come back to it, because I had never done that before, when you come back to it, you're able to just, I don't know, the whole 2 weeks, we rehearsed for 2 weeks before we came here, before I had to start Guys and Dolls, and we spent that whole 2 weeks just kind of real loose and just trying different things and different line readings and just being very, there was no pressure kind of, and it's fascinating. I feel like it's just deepened everything, everything is a little richer and deeper now. That's what I think.
I think it's time for questions, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
Is it time for questions? It's time for questions.
It's time for questions.
We're going to take some questions from the audience.
What a kick-ass room is my question.
Cool.
That's right. All I can see is the disco ball.
Look at those.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, there's that.
I would like to be served mead in this room.
Looks like there's some mead
Sir?
back there.
Is there mead? Did they bring the mead bag?
All right.
Anyone? In the blue shirt over here?
Look at all these.
So hi, Nick and Megan. You have a long. Hey,
Hello there.
Hi.
see you again, sir. So you and Megan have a long history of working together, from Berlin Circles, your first play, all the way to Axe Cop, the animated TV show. I was just wondering if there's anything that you have that's like a favorite experience working together, or one that was particularly memorable for any reason.
Well,
Ron and Tammy.
our favorite thing is thank you. The first Ron and Tammy episode. To be given license to get paid to mash our faces together in as disgusting a manner as possible. Megan literally made us go out in the grass of our backyard and practice animalistic groping. And
I didn't want to break anything.
You
in the
didn't
house.
fall for that, though, did you?
I did. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And when we do it on the show, Amy can't watch us because it's so gross.
Yeah. People
She
avert their eyes.
gets really upset.
But I think also this play is our other favorite thing we've gotten to do.
Oh yeah, I mean this. Besides, even if it wasn't such a perfect match for the both of us, we're both such theater rats that when a part this juicy comes along, either one of our roles, it's all we've been drooling for.
The play sort of unfolds, like every time you perform it, you kind of find some new thing, which I've never really experienced before. And I'm not sure if that was intentional or...
No, that was accident. I do that on, that was accident.
Yeah, accidentally, yeah. So it's been very interesting and cool to work on. That was it.
That was it, that's all?
Great.
Okay. In the red here? Or sorry, that's a chartreuse. Is it a...
Pink. It's a beautiful
I want to
pink.
get it right. It's
Yeah.
not just pink. It's like
Well, yeah.
My question is, do you guys have dream theater roles, musical or play, that you would love to do? Or could have done before or later in your life?
Dream roles?
Theater roles, yeah.
Theater roles.
I want. She's gonna make fun of me, but I would love to essay the role of Javert and Les Mis.
Well, I know what we're all talking about tomorrow, so that's in rehearsal. What about you?
I don't know that I have any dream roles, but I really did love playing Adelaide in this one night only thing that we just did. So I wouldn't mind trying that again, yeah. Thank you.
Did you have was there a gentleman back here in the brown cardigan? Thank you. I didn't know if it was a sport coat. It's the lights.
Hello. I just want to say, Megan, I was a huge fan of Will and Grace.
Oh, thanks.
Awesome. And I have a question for you, Nick. You're a very passionate man about everything you do, and you kind of take it to your core to do it. When you got the treatment for Fiddler's video for cocaine,
Oh, isn't it
was
the
that something
best?
that you got and were just like, yes, this is something I need to do?
Yeah, it was. He basically was his idea. The whole thing.
Yeah, I mean it's Megan's band before Nancy and Beth, the Supreme Music Program, has this great sort of band leader keyboardist named Greg Keane, and two of the guys in Fiddler are his sons, Elvis and.
Fiddler is a punk rock band in Los Angeles.
Fiddler stands for "Fuck it, dog, life's a risk." So they had my complete approbation from the get-go.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
And at some point they said, Elvis and Max, they said, if you ever, we'd love to do a video with you sometime, it'd be fun. And then I read something at some point about their lead singer allegedly was urinating on stage or something, and the idea came to me. I thought it was a very punk idea to get fired from my job and just drink a bunch of Mickey's Big Mouth and piss every place.
you guys got to see this video. It's called Cocaine, right?
The song is called
It's a
Cocaine,
cover of a yeah.
ironically. I'm proud of it. A one-day shoot.
Yes, it was.
Sir, here.
Oh, I already.
Oh, you already pointed.
I
Just
did.
go with your
I took
point.
over. I'm
no,
sorry.
You, no, you
I
took over.
saw
No,
him.
I'm
I
good.
didn't
No,
see.
yeah, do the.
Well,
We'll
he's
do a
already
line
got
up.
the
All right,
mic.
so
Okay,
then
you're
next.
God, I'm so sorry. I've ruined.
All right, no, we're good. No,
upset
we've got
all
the we've got
balance
the
of
priority
power.
now.
Yeah. Okay.
So you both have a lot of minor TV roles. Do you have a favorite one that you ever
Thank
had?
you.
Next,
I'm not
sir.
sure what that means, but I enjoy doing. I do some voices on Bob's Burgers, and I really enjoy that. And I'm on Children's Hospital. I don't know if anybody ever watches that, but that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I guess of my minor roles, Detective Chance Briggs on Children's Hospital,
Yeah.
I think, is a favorite.
It's a good one.
That shows a gas.
Sir.
Nick, I'd like to take you back to December 2012, the Cold Court Hotel, Oklahoma City. We were touring the breakfast meets in the Oklahoma City area. I have one question. How were they?
That's so funny. I'm from Oklahoma City. Did you know that?
Oh, we know.
Oh, okay. Are you from Oklahoma?
Oh, no, we were just there traveling for the weekend.
Oh,
Run into your fine name.
I love it.
I would say the breakfast meats of Oklahoma City distinguished themselves among the southwestern states.
Any further questions for? Good. Oh, one more. Let's do this last one.
Good question for Nick. We saw your stand-up last year here in Times Square. The Rules for Life, and it was an interesting mix between your real human personality, if you will, and then your character Ron Swanson. I'm just curious, when on the show you touched on this a little bit earlier, if you had to ballpark, what % of Ron Swanson is written for you, and what % is your creative ad-libs, if you had to ballpark it in terms of that?
Well, I want to correct a couple things.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't perform stand-up. I am a humorist, which is not as funny as a stand-up. It's an important distinction. And there weren't rules for life, they were tips for prosperity. Having clarified those points, I'd say, it's in the 90s, our show has insanely genius writers, and a few of them over the years are especially keen at nailing the voice of Ron Swanson. Dan Gore, who's one of the guys who created Brooklyn Nine-Nine, with Mike Sharr, who created Parks and Rec, those two guys have written, like, if you have favorite jokes like "When I eat, it's the food that is scared," or "Give me all the bacon and eggs," those are the guys that write those jokes. I probably have maybe one line or two a show that are some bullshit I pulled out of my ass. And that's true of most of the cast. We just have insanely good writers, and the first cut of every episode is like 30 minutes, and it has to be cut down to 21 and a half minutes. So at the end of the day, there's all kinds of really funny stuff that has to be trimmed away to get to the story that was initially written.
Okay. On that note.
We got one more.
Oh, one more. Okay.
You could probably just say it. Yeah.
So as a married couple, do you have advice on working together and how to, is there any, it sounds like it's a source of pleasure for both of you. Is there any time that it's at strife?
I think we're sort of unusual in that the extent to which we work well together, I think, is sort of unusual. Because I think, haven't we heard other couples or heard of other couples who are like, oh, I can't work with her. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like in a lot of the marriages I know in my family, just even outside of show business, it seems the cliche is to not be able to stand your spouse. And we're very lucky that
we like
that
each
Megan's
other.
able to tolerate me quite a bit.
We really enjoy being around each other, and I think we really respect each other and each other's talents and ways of working. And we haven't really, gosh, knock on wood, we haven't really run into a problem working together. Oh. Wow.
I didn't.
He has a wooden prosthetic penis. Like George Washington had wooden teeth. Nick Offerman, wooden penis. He could have carved it any size he wanted, but only about 5.5. Not sure why that.
That's girth.
Oh. Slips my.
All right,
That's a good place to. Yeah.
On that note, all right, so I'm going to just put a shameless plug in for our play then at the very end, right?
That's
Why
why
not?
we're here.
Okay. So the new group's production of Annapurna with these two, running at the Acorn Theater on Theater Row. It's going to be there from April 13th until June 1st, and come see it. You guys are wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sharr.
Right
Thank
back
you
at
guys
ya.
for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. It's a cool room.